So if we want to make a comparison of the deep learning and the neural network with what we had before by timeline, we can say that there is a difference between the different models that were recommended by time, from the complexity and also the model performance. So even if the model performance was increased, we can expect that the complexity of the models were also increased. So if we want to make a comparison, what we had first, some simple statistical learning models. So if we consider them as the simple statistical learning models, mostly working on the small samples and good performance to make a kind of conclusion about the population by looking at the samples that we can gather from the target population and make a kind of inference to know what really is happening by looking only on a small sample, could make us some interpretation, some forecasting by some models that they have a good mathematical background, but not maybe really working for the huge number of attributes and variables and data sets like what we have now for the big data. So these kind of models from the model performance and also complexity, or how much they are difficult to be interpreted. Maybe we can say the line would be similar to this in comparison with what? With the amount of data that we might have. So if we consider this one as the data volume, for the small data volumes, this simple statistical learning models working well. They are less complex in comparison with the other models, but the model performance might be low when the data volume increases. So after this simple statistical learning, we might say that we have the traditional machine learning models. They might not be as well as simple statistical learning models when the data volume is very small. So in this case, maybe they are simple statistical learning models, and inference in statistics works better. So here it has no advantage when the small data volume rather than the simple statistical learning, but when the volume increase, it might give us a better result than the simple statistical learning, the machine learning models, okay? But then we can say that we had the neural networks. So Again, in comparison with the traditional machine learning and simple statistical learning, maybe we can say that for small sets, they are not working as well as the traditional machine learning or simple statistical learning. That this traditional machine learning also use some concepts of the statistical learning. So they were much more powerful than the neural networks in the small samples. But neural networks, when the sample size was increased, they perform better. So the complexity will increase for the neural networks rather than the traditional machine learning or simple statistical learning. But for data volume, high data volume, they work better. So they were more fit to the big data, for example, or when we wanted to make a kind of analysis on very large data set or many attributes. And then we can say that the deep learning might be the next one. We have also from these neural networks some shallow neural networks. So they are also included in these neural networks. And finally, the deep learning here that not perform as well as others for the small samples, but for large sample size, the deep learning is performing very well. Okay, so if you want to make a kind of ranking of the different approaches to know that for which kind of data sets, if we are working, for example, on a small data set that we gather from the banking system, from the databases of the banks or the insurance companies or other financial institutions, and we have to use a kind of questionnaire, for example, or make sample to know about what really is happening in that financial system. Maybe we have to refer more to the statistical methods and inference of statistics rather than using the machine learning algorithms for the deep learning. But by increasing the data volume and also the model performance and complexity, we want to have a better output and a better forecasting and knowing better what might happen in future in the case of the risk management. The deep learning and neural networks and machine learning might work better. But nowadays, you know that with the combination of the different fields of science, we can see that the statistical concepts are also developed so much. So we can see that in deep learning, in neural network, in machine learning, the statistical approaches also contribute very well.